I suggest doing.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick Halpin, the chair of the Town of Babylon Planning Board. Today is October 26th. And before we go to our agenda, I'd like everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jerry, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We have just one public hearing, which is a site plan review. It's Planning Board Job 2022-8, the Kent Architecture Collaborative PLLC. Who's here to represent the applicant? Okay, we'll wait for you.
Good evening.
All right, could you please state your name and address for record? But before you do, let me just read this statement into the record. The planning board shall have the right to rely on any information that is presented by the applicant. If any such information is later found to be inaccurate or incorrect, the planning board may determine that any approvals, building permits, or other actions previously granted in connection with the application are null and void. Okay, sir, could you please state your name and address?
Brian Sinsbaugh, attorney with Sir Tillman Ballin, Adler and Hyman, 100 Motor Parkway, Hauppauge, New York, 11788.
Okay, please proceed.
Can you hear me okay with the mask?
Yeah, we can hear you. Well.
Okay. All right. Good evening. We are here for an application for site plan review with regard to the property located at 215 Daniel Street, East Farmingdale. It's located at District 0100, Section 31, Block 1, and Lot 5 of the Suffolk County Tax Map.
Okay, before we begin, the Deputy Planning Commissioner issued a memo dated October 20th regarding this application. There are a series of conditions, and I don't see any restrictions, but there are a series of conditions. Do you have any questions or comments regarding this memorandum?
I do not, Chairman.
So what is on the memo is acceptable, and you have no objections.
There are no objections.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this property is zoned in the G Industry District. What we have here is a parcel with total square footage of 291,192 square feet. It's also 6.68 acres. The property is improved with an existing one-story masonry building, 129,595 square feet. There are proposed changes to the facade of the building. Overall, the site as a whole will not be changing significantly. The most significant change that you will be seeing aside from the facade are the agreed upon parking locations in the rear of the property. This is cutting into the slope of the rear to provide additional parking. This parking will be paved, and it will be subject to a retaining wall in the rear that is also part of the site plan application. Overall, the parking on this site will be increasing. Previous approvals showed a total of 155 parking stalls being provided. This is now being increased to 192 stalls. This includes 75 land bank stalls and 117 paved stalls. Reviewed this multiple times with the planning department. We've made changes pursuant to comments, and believe that we've come to a conclusion as to how we would like to present this site plan, which is what you have before you now. At this point, I'd really like to open up any questions to see if there are any questions of the board as to the site plan.
Okay, I noticed in the memo that there were previous covenants and restrictions, and all of that remains applicable. Correct?
Yes, Chairman.
Do any of the board members have any questions? Jerry, you want to look at where is the rear of the?
So the rear of the
I know. We'll take a look at it.
The vacant piece of land,
All right.
Hollywood.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
For,
counsel.
Council. Is it true the fact that this, the interior alterations and the expansion of the office is into existing space and is being used for different purpose, storage or otherwise?
That's my understanding. So we will be expanding interiorly into an area that's otherwise used for warehouse. That's why there is that's why what we have resulting here is an increase in the parking area for parking requirements.
And is there, with the expansion and the parking analysis, is there any need for any zoning relief variance wise for parking or otherwise?
With regard to parking, I do not believe so. We are not changing any of the parking within the front or the side yards, and we are still maintaining the proper setback to the rear.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Matt, do you have anything you want to add? No?
No, just, follow up on Karen's question, there is a parking variance requested that Miles for 282 spaces required. And 192 provided.
Okay, sorry, not for dimensional, but yes, for the full parking count, but not dimensional to the site.
Okay, I'm sorry, could you repeat that so the record, so it's clear for the record?
282 parking spaces are required and 192 are provided. So parking variance for the number of spaces provided.
Okay,
Yeah, that's due, Mr. Chairman, to the change from storage to active use.
right. So do you feel that there'll be sufficient parking on site given the variance you're going to be seeking?
Yes, Chairman. Overall, we have increased in office space, but that increased number is not going to result in a significant change in the parking usage on site. There was more than sufficient parking previously with 155 stalls in the breakdown of the paved area and what we had that was land banked. Should there be any change if the town finds that there isn't sufficient parking, we'd be willing to open up those land bank stalls if necessary.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? Jerry?
This is for the resale of cars that are traded in from, is that correct?
Correct.
This is a used car deal.
Their service there, in terms of the sale that is put on site, my understanding is that they're serviced on site. The actual, we have no outdoor, actually, just to answer your question specifically, make sure I have it correct, I would like to speak to the client with regard to that, but just want to make sure it's clear as to the breakdown as to what we're using on the site and where on the site it's being used.
Sir, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Joe Carino, 215 Daniel Street, Farmingdale, New York, 11735.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, to the
Could
question.
you repeat that question, please?
The last time you guys came before us, it was the same use. And when I inspected the site, there was big signs in front of the building, the cars for sale.
Mhm.
So my question is, describe here that this is for leased vehicles being returned and bought for sale. So is this a used car sale location?
There are cars being sold used there, but it's a minimal amount of vehicles based on a number of units that are being returned, cars being returned off lease. So,
There was a big sign in front of the building.
well, yes. But it's not considered, it's actually a lease return center. And we have a covenant to actually sell cars at that facility. That was one of the restrictions. We can't put cars outside. We can't put flags and banners and all that stuff.
So the cars for sale will be inside.
They're internal and they're sold online digitally through websites.
So the lease for the parking will not be impacted by used cars parking there.
No, absolutely not. Yes, that's correct.
Is that a covenant? Is that?
Yes. There's a part in there, yes. In the section of the covenant.
Okay. You want to talk about the covenant as it relates to car sales? Yeah, I didn't see it in the memo. I know there were prior covenants and restrictions.
Yeah, I believe those are some of the restrictions that were applied to the original application. So those
Correct.
are not being changed.
Right.
They're still applicable. We only added a few additional positions based off the changes to the plan. But you can them. I don't know if they're to restate them.
Mr. Chairman, yes, we'll check on those covenants.
Okay.
But the outdoor display and storage is separate from the parking requirements, and they're not commingled, so to speak, but we'll check that covenant and plan and make sure that that's the fact.
All right, yeah, I know it would have been helpful to have those for the board. And I know, look, we're not relitigating any of that.
No, I
That's all
understand.
approved and it's not changed.
Appreciate that, thank you.
But I just for our information. To Jerry's. Okay,
welcome.
thank you, sir. Anything else? All right, Matt, I noticed that it said all comments have been submitted.
That's correct. We have, all department of comments have been satisfied. We recommend the record open, because for the opportunity to comment, our next meeting date is 11/16.
To November 16th, okay. We need a motion to extend the record to November 16th, 2020, Jared. Second, Julianne. All in favor? Aye. Approved. Thank you very much. Safe home.
Thank you.
Okay.
Those uses, Mr. O'Neill, they're not commingled, they're not commingled, they're separate. So we'll see what the plan shows in terms of the numbers and everything else in the covenants that are there. But you can't use outdoor, you can't store in your parking areas. So that would be a code enforcement issue, and that,
It was the huge sign last time they came for cars for sale.
well, they're selling cars. They got the approval, I think, including, bringing in the lease. And
Inside the warehouse.
Correct, yeah, they're not, it's not like a lot, you can't come and walk the lot, but I think if you return your car, you may be able to see vehicles inside, but I think they store a lot of those vehicles that are returned inside, they detail them, and then they put them for sale again online. So you may be able to come pick up the vehicle there if you purchased it, but it's not like a car lot where you're walking a lot.
That sign pretty much said that.
Okay, we can follow up on that.
Good.
There's no sign there now that says that, but when they first had the application and I went there was a huge sign that says cars for sale.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
the
they can sell
record's
it.
extended to the 16th, so
We'll
we'll
have checks.
get a look at what's
We can,
existing there now.
we can, I have that previous approval, the resolution in there, we can email that to the board, so they
Yeah,
can
that'll be
Something
fine.
to believe.
see
that's
those
all.
previous covenants. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Let's get back to the agenda of the work session. Item B. Planning job, board job 1614A, Long Island Teen Challenge.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this was, the record here was previously closed on 10/5. So the board can move to review and the negative declaration and also the site plan in C and D.
Okay. So we jump to item C. Right. For the negative declaration. That's item C. Number one, again, planning board job 1614A, Long Island Teen Challenge regarding the negative declaration of site plan.
Ready to go.
Everything's good? Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, motion Ed,
Motion.
second Michael. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, let's go to the site plan. Item D, again, planning board job 1614A, Long Island Teen Challenge. We're all set to approve that.
Site plan resolution is ready, yes.
Okay, any questions? Okay, motion Frank, second Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
Page 2. This is item E to rescind resolution site plan. Review for bar restaurant, that's planning board job 1741AF, multi-brands, Copake Real Estate.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and Matt can correct any inaccuracies that it might state, but this was approved on October 5th, but at that time, unbeknownst to the board and our staff here, there were some further revisions to drainage that were outstanding. So this is to rescind that approval
And we'll also then need to extend the site plan per the recommendation of the planning department.
Okay, where's Matt? Okay. Okay.
So we can extend the record when we get to it on the reserve calendar. But yeah, there was just it was mistakenly brought before the board. There was one minor issue with the drainage that's currently under review and being resolved. So hopefully we'll get that cleaned up and we'll approve the correct site plan.
Was that something, how did I, usually you guys are so good at this. How did that happen?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact extent of that, but I can tell you that it's such a minor revision
Yeah.
that it requires us to hold up on the site plan or reverse it. But the negative deck that's been already adopted, Mr. Grow has said that that is not even impacted by this minor
Okay, so
drainage
it's not-
engineering issue.
It has
Yeah.
to be a significant change that could, change the environment.
Yeah, it's not something that really affects the functionality or how people access the site. It's really an underground drainage. It's more of a technical specification that we just don't want to have the stamped approved site plan have an incorrect detail that could create a discrepancy out in the field.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, let's see. Motion, Michael? Motion. Second, Ed? Peterson? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The resolution is received. Item F. Planning board job 1937A, Sahara property management.
If all items and departmental comments have been addressed on this matter, this is for a CrossFit gym, in a multi-tenant building on Route 109. And with a type 2 action, so there is no negative declaration or secret to be voted on in this matter. I think we could skip to G
Okay.
for the council.
All right.
Yes, I think we have to close the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. you're right.
Close the record on page 9. And then we can vote on the resolution in June.
So you want to jump to page 9? Let's jump to page 9. It is item 3 on page 9, 1937 A of Sahara Property Manager. Close the record. Motion Dan. Second Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
The record is closed. Page 2, this is the site plan. Again, 1937A, Sahara Property Management. Site plan is, any issues? Anything? Okay. You recommend
Good
approval?
order. I believe.
Yes.
Okay, motion Julianne, second Jerry,
Second.
all in favor? Okay, item H, planning board job 2009, Arduleon.
Order on, Mr. Chairman,
Order on,
requires
thank you.
similar action to Sahara that the record has been extended today, so that has to be addressed. That's also on page 9, and then
Okay,
consider
let's go back. to
neg
page
deck
9.
and site plan.
Oh, there it is, okay, item 2, 2009 Audubon LLC, to close the record, let's see, motion, Julianne, second Ed, all in favor, the record is closed. Okay, let's go to the negative deck, page 2H.
Yeah, well, that's the work session.
Oh, okay, the site plan review. Okay. Okay, that's okay. So now this is to approve the negative declaration for job 2009 Audubon LLC. A motion by Ed, second by Julianne. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item J. Okay, this is to approve the site plan.
Not what these guys are.
Okay, again, job 2009A Audubon LLC. Any questions?
Site plan is in good order, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, site plan is in good order. Okay, motion by Julianne, second Ed, all in favor?
Aye.
Site plan is. Okay,
Yes, next matter is Texas Roadhouse. That was a matter that was tabled on 10/5. And since then, the CNR number 17, which memorializes the parking agreement between the tenants and otherwise, has been reviewed by the applicant's counsel, and it's acceptable, and it's included on a resolution to be recorded as a CNR. It's ready to go, so you don't need to close the record here. You can move right to the resolution in L.
Okay, item one, John, 1839 AFD, Texas Roadhouse Holdings, that covenants and restrictions are all part of.
Yes, we had followed up with the applicant and the council, and they had looked at those covenants. And, you know, we've informed them that these are the covenants that the board's going to place, and they have no issues. So that covenant was to memorialize the parking agreement and the arrangement on how they're going to educate their employees about utilizing that designated parking area.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the resolution that we're going to do? Chance to look at it? Anyone? I'm just looking at
And
where is
just
it?
so the board is aware too, I mean, item L.
Oh, employee parking.
This
okay.
is also a lifting of a CNR too, because again, their application, there was a covenant restriction restricting any further development on the site that required a parking variance. And this covenant and the parking agreement that they put in place was their attempt to satisfy the board in order to lift that covenant restriction and then approve the site plan.
Right. And the covenant that's applied or required by this board is substantial. It includes that agreement that's going to be recorded between these other parties. And that's significant because that recordation will bind any subsequent parties, whether they're purchasers, bona fide or otherwise, or tenants that are executing a lease. They're charged with the knowledge of this parking agreement with the town between all the different parties. So it's substantial.
Any questions? No? Okay. Let's see, motion, Jared,
Motion.
second, Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Next page. Architectural review. Item one, application 134741. Brendan,
This application is in good order, Mr. Chairman.
questions? Motion, Frank, second, Dan. All in favor? Item two, application 135150, Joanna Murkowski. Murkowski,
yeah.
is that close enough?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a little dyslexic, especially. At least it's, okay, motion, Dan. Second, Michael, all in favor? Approved, okay. Item three, application 131452.
Everything is in good order with this application as well, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, a motion, Michael, second, Ed, all in favor? Approved. Item four, application 135144. Landco Mortgage Bankers, construction of a new house.
All comments have been satisfied as well. And this is good to go.
Okay, motion Julianne, second Jared. All in favor? Aye. Approved. Item five, application 134519, Melgar Properties.
This application is in good order as well.
Okay, motion Jared.
Motion.
Frank, all in favor? Aye. Approved. Okay, we have a number of communications. Item one, a letter in opposition to Dale Grace Manor, Estates rather, read and filed. Email from Catherine Latu regarding Dale Grace Manor, expressing opposition. A letter to Clark E. Howard regarding the 7-Eleven Corporation planning for job 1906A, expressing concerns with pedestrian walkway and the planning towards job area. And a petition from Catherine G. American, from Catherine G. American Venice Civic Association. Let's see, expressing opposition to planning board job 20-06. Deltano, Canelo, application. Present. 5, okay, letter from Linda Lane, planning board job 20-06A, expressing opposition to that application. Letter from Jeffrey Miska, regarding planning board job 20-06A, expressing opposition. We have a letter from the town of Huntington regarding adopted resolution. What is that? Okay, read and filed. Number 8, letter dated September 30th from Catherine Mallard to the planning board expressing appreciation for the application 20-06. Is appreciation the same as support?
In this case, yeah.
Okay. Is that how you get noticed? It's called appreciation.
I guess that's how she wrote it.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay. Letter October 10 from Michelle Odhu, anyway, for the same job, 2060A, expressing appreciation for the applicant proposal. Okay, good. We also have something for the reserve calendar regarding from Jersey Losky to the planning board regarding job 2020's Mead Palace, expressing opposition to the applicant.
That item was adjourned, that matter, so it hasn't been given a new date yet. There's some outstanding issues that the applicant needs to address in the plan, so we'll leave that on the reserve calendar for communications until that matter comes back before the board for their public hearing.
Okay, thank you. All right, we don't have any minutes to approve, so let's go to reserve calendar. The first item is Gus Wade, 1704 ABP.
Same status, this is still pending at a town board level. The planning department recommends extending the record to May 10th, 2021.
Okay. Let's see, motion, Jerry,
Motion.
second Dan, all in favor, let's say the right hand. So next page. January 6th. 1936. GE Farmingdale Hospitality Partners LLC.
So we just received revisions in the planning department about a week and a half ago. Those are currently under review by the different departments. We recommend extending the record to November 16th, 2020.
Okay, motion by Frank to extend the record. Second Dan, all in favor? Next page. July 20th. Planning board job 1825A Gal Grace Estates of Copac modified.
Similarly, on this application, we just received revisions last week, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. We recommend, so they're currently under review by the different departments, and we recommend extending the record to November 16th, 2020.
Okay. Motion Dan, second Michael, all in favor? Approved. Okay, August 3rd, final job 2021B, Runson Holdings.
There's a minor issue with just the elevations of these homes for this subdivision. We're still pending the submission of revisions from the applicant. We recommend extending the record to November 16th, 2020.
Okay, motion to extend the record, Michael.
Yeah, the bid is switching.
Okay, second Ed, all in favor? Next page, 9, item 3.
We did that.
Very good that. Okay, we'll take down. Pardon?
Did that again.
You can go to the bottom, Walter, Wesleski.
We need to do number
okay.
one under August 31st.
Which one?
Okay, extend the record.
Yeah, August 31st, item 1, planning board job 17-41AF, multi-brand
Yeah,
Copac.
right.
So that was the one that was rescinded earlier, and we're just going to extend the record on that to 11/16/20. That's the recommendation of the planning department.
Okay, motion by Ed, second by Julianne. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Anything else on this page?
Walter was
Walter? Okay,
Yeah. So Walter, I think that's just a typo on our agenda. I think we had mistakenly extended it to 10/19. We had training last week, so again, we're just waiting on some revisions with some minor details on the site plan. We recommend extending the record to 11/16/20.
motion Julianne, second by Jerry. Second. Approved. Okay, let's go to 21, Farmingdale, 2006. No,
I believe there are just some minor items that are under review in preparation for the board. We recommend extending the record to November 16th, 2020.
okay, motion Jerry, second Frank. Frank, second Frank, all in favor?
Aye.
The record is extended. Anything else on that? No, let's go to our agenda. Okay, the first item A, which is architectural review, application 134551, Alan Getz.
This is just an expansion of an existing home. All items have been addressed and this application has received approval from the ZBA.
Okay. All right, and motion by Dan, second by Michael.
Second.
All in favor? Approved. Okay, item 2 is application 135650, Kathy Randall.
Again, expansion of an existing home. All items have been addressed.
Okay. Motion by Michael, second Ed, all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I recuse on that.
Pardon?
I recuse on that
And
application.
one recusal or abstention. Is that what you were? Okay. Okay, communications, we have a letter from Nicole Blanda requesting an extension of time.
Yes, and there's a memo number 2 from the deputy commissioner, not objecting to that extension.
Okay, so what are we extending it to?
So that an extension of time is worth 6 months of approval. So this is just requesting one extension and it is their first.
180 days.
All right, motion by Dan, you okay with this? Okay, second
Also
by
another
Frank.
6 months.
All in favor?
Most of the time.
Okay, we have a memo from the deputy commissioner with no objection to that. Next, to item 3, another letter from Nicole Blanda requesting first extension of time. This is for planning board job 1931.
And similarly, item 4 is a letter from the deputy commissioner expressing no opposition. Same thing, this is a first extension of time for 180 days. And anecdotally, I believe this applicant is very close to pulling their building permit. They've had a little bit of lag out of the county with the health department and reporting CNRs with COVID and everything going on, but I believe they're pretty close to pulling a BP.
Okay, motion by Dan, you're okay with this? Yeah. Okay, the extension please. Second by Michael, all in favor? Approved. Okay, we'll jump down to item 5, which is a letter dated October 22 from William Moran in support of planning board job 1825 Echo Grace Estates. Red.
No, he lives right next door and he says it's okay.
Pardon?
He lives right next door to the
So it's okay.
parking
Yeah,
and he's okay with it.
he's the neighbor to the north of 30 Bay Lawn, which is the proposed parking lot that extends out to Bay Lawn Avenue.
That's interesting.
Well,
Yeah, he's right next door to the parking lot goes down.
Okay, anything else?
Now we have a couple weeks off for election day and then Veterans Day. Our next meeting is 11/16/20.
Okay, so we need October,
Just one second. That next meeting will be at 10 o'clock in the
Right,
senior
yeah,
center.
yeah.
And I sent the email.
oh, which next meeting? What's that mean?
November 16th.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
You will remind us.
I'll send it.
Okay, hold on, I gotta make sure we put it right.
Otherwise, you'll be sitting here by yourself.
I'll be looking around saying, are they sending me a message? Okay, so that's at where?
Town Park Senior
Senior
Center.
Center. We qualify.
The rest of the meetings, probably until the end of December, will be at Town Park. While they renovate, they have to demo those bathrooms.
Okay. You know, there's a Tana Park in Salt Lake City.
Oh.
So, yeah, there you go. By the way, there's another one in Wisconsin.
Copac,
Copac. Okay. All right, what else?
As Denise said, then she'll send out reminders for our next meeting on November 16th at Tanner Park. And I know a lot of you have sent emails and whatnot, but I want the record to reflect, I thank the board and our appreciation for Mr. Grove's attention to the program and bringing in that, you know, it's a great asset to have him and to do this in-house training. You know, this is not something that necessarily happens everywhere. This is something begun by Mr. Grove's department, and this board started it, and it's, you know, worked out to be a great asset. And I think it broadens the horizon of and the viewpoint of all the board members to see what goes into the approvals and how these environmental facilities, you know, are screened by the planning board and the department for an appropriate use in that area. And I think this was a good example of a well-run establishment, you know, without saying anything more. But just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Grow again.
Yes.
Thank you for being great audience.
No, thank you. You put a lot of effort into that. It was.
And really, you know, that
Speak for
plan.
myself, it worked well.
Real
Plan is
asset.
fascinating.
And we're already seeing a reduction in price to get rid of that type of material, from 65 to 45 a ton. So that's a good thing for
Yeah,
our
look,
environment.
They're smart business people, and the first that goes through my mind is there enough demand for what they do?
Oh, yeah.
And the nice part about a privately held company is that you're able to make those investments now with a longer time horizon in terms of time to recapture, but definitely.
Did anybody ask the question, what did this facility cost to build?
Yes.
So what did we get?
24 and 27 million.
Right, 'cause they went over budget, they went way over budget. So-
Everything goes.
Yeah,
A lot of bucks.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's,
all right, they'll get
From
it
my
back.
humble perspective.
yeah,
They got money coming in and going out. They make the money when it comes in and make the money when they sell.
The key there is they're reusing, repurposing this material. So the cleanup is a terrific business, but we're ending up with products that, you know, are being utilized again and recycled, and that's a double bonus, I think. So,
Absolutely. Instead of being landfill.
yeah, and if you read, especially a place like Brookhaven and Southampton elsewhere, they're just, the ability to sand mine is becoming more and more difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
As the environmental regulators are
Mhm.
taking a more active role there.
Get some of the same.
Good. I hope everybody enjoyed learning about our drinking water.
Oh, it was awesome.
Now, I always,
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm extra happy when I take a lesson.
Yeah.
Me too.
I drink tap water.
I always.
I always drink it. The only thing I advise is that in the morning, or if you've been out of the house, run the water for a couple minutes,
Thank
you know, until it's cold.
Yep.
Just, you want to just flush out the pipes. That's all.
Just get rid of the vapors of the chemicals or whatever.
You know, it's just, there's a little stagnant water in the pipes, but running.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, people sometimes don't do that.
So a question that came to me after the fact, and it actually was over the weekend, because I was going through some of my dog's old medicine. I used to always dispose of it in the toilet bowl. And, you know, all of the warnings that these things show up in our water. So if we're filtering our water and testing our water, how are medications still coming through?
Are you in the Southwest Sewer District?
Yeah.
Well, then they're not. I mean, they're ending up at an ocean outfall pipe 2.5 miles offshore.
So I didn't have to dispose of them. the way
Yeah,
did.
I mean, they're just,
I
yeah.
could have flushed them.
Just, yeah, no, you
But-
shouldn't flush it. No matter what, you shouldn't flush it.
Yeah.
You bring it to the first precinct.
Oh, okay.
You know, all the, you know, household drugs can be sold there. And then we also take them on Earth Day.
Well, that's what I know, is like a once
I was
in a
somewhat
year.
surprised, I guess I should have anticipated, but when I asked the question, was, saltwater intrusion or nitrogen the two greatest threats, and he came flat out and say, absolutely not, it's prescription drugs, being thrown in the toilet or wherever it was. I wasn't prepared for that. He was vehement about that.
When people say surface water, or everyone thinks it's part of the drinking water. And I really learned that it's not, that's the rivers and lakes and ponds and all that. It's not our aquifers. And I think that's where a lot of people go.
Right.
Right.
Screws up
And
the
as he
bay.
pointed out, the only place where that is a significant is on the North Fork and the North Shore. of the Fork.
Yeah.
So the water authority is planning, we put wells out there, but we're now planning a major pipeline from the Pine Barrens and Riverhead out to Southwold.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in the
It's a good
past,
thing.
the water authority didn't do that. It was just easier to drill a well and not as costly, however, for the initial cost. What we're finding is that the wells are not lasting that long. And if you think about a pipeline, that'll last 100 years. So one of the things I've been talking about on the board is like, okay, if we're going to do this infrastructure, let's make sure it's sized and everything to meet whatever the needs are today and for generations. Because you really don't want to spend that money once.
Can you oversize with the water lines? We did that with the Wendy and sewers. We oversized.
Yeah.
We made double the capacity in that gravity.
So we're doing the plans on the drawing boards to do a pipeline. We also just put a big water tank out there. We don't do the high tanks anymore. We do them at grade. And those are expensive as well, but they'll last forever.
What's the difference of the aquatic and the highway?
You have to pump it up and you have to maintain them because they're metal.
We use
So-
those as
So
the
that
guiding point.
costs a couple $1 million for 20, 25 years.
When you're at the bay or out in the ocean, those towers are a guiding point to get back to where you want to be.
They are. And the water authority also makes money because we have antennas on them.
Ah,
We did take one down in Brentwood, in the vicinity of Suffolk Avenue, where you say Brentwood Water District. So we took that down, and the residents were upset because they considered that a landmark.
yeah.
So we put up a beautiful cell tower there. So, because we wanted to keep the revenue. So it says Brentwood, instead of saying Brentwood this way, it says Brentwood this way.
Do you ever see the cell tower? I think it's at the end of 684 going up north. Tree. Looks like a pine tree.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, supposedly looks like a
Huge.
pine tree.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's the shape of the tree. Yep.
They tried.
I thought it was good.
They try, but it looks like something you use to clean the toilet. Yeah,
That's a big one.
A big Christmas tree. We can't get away with that. We have no time. Anything else?
My husband and I traveled this summer too, and I think it was when we went toward West Virginia, and we saw the most beautiful water tower that was painted as a fruit bowl. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was so colorful. It was really pretty. It
Oh,
was
that's
unique.
good.
The one that they just painted on Southern State, you see the West Hempstead, the one that you see from Southern State over around like exit 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, beautiful paint job.
Right.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there's one down in Virginia. It's a coastal
Yeah.
town, and they made it look like a lighthouse.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it looks pretty neat. Cape Charles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're trying to reinvent themselves.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah. All right, we have record of activities. Sign, we need a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn 7:45 p.m.
7:45, second Jerry.
Second.
All in favor?